I know that the title of this video is not going to be a popular opinion, but instead of bullying the referee for this performance, I'm going to break down one of the greatest pool stage matches of all time across Rugby World Cup history, because this was an amazing contest won by the underdog. Heading into the World Cup, Fiji were ranked 7th in the world and Wales were ranked 10th. Despite being ranked 1st in the world in the middle of 2019, everybody has been laughing at the demise of the Welsh, and Wales are playing in this World Cup to save their country that is having a bit of an identity crisis, I guess. This was a performance that made me very proud to have Welsh ancestry, so a big thank you to my patrons for today's video. My name's Max, I'm the host over here at the Black Jersey. There is so much to talk about from this match. Tactically, from both teams, it was absolutely phenomenal. So remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and now let's get into this, guys. Let's go. In the Fijian match day 23, 9 players were from the Fijian Drua. Although the Drua placed 7th on the 12-team Super Rugby ladder this season, just 2 of their 6 wins were back-to-back. While this may lead to solid national team cohesion in the future, the Drua have thus far lacked consistency. This lack of consistency can be seen when Fiji are standing here on 0:35 in the match, looking to launch their first attack. This animation you can now see on screen with a slightly wide 3-man pod passing out the back to a distributor is what Fiji are intending to do, while as we cut back to the freeze frame, we can see a similar hands down the line pattern from the backs. Although Tala is calling the shots from 10, having rehearsed them with the Drua, Tuisui, who we see at 6, plays for Gloucester at club level, so isn't necessarily up to par with Tala's vision. The pod is in the right shape to perform this animation, we can see, but because Tuisui bends down into a carry position, Tala gives up and starts to drift to the open side. Because Tala makes this shift, Wales have packed in tightly with Beard, Rowlands and Thomas all wrapping in to mark their opposites. Matavesi and Nasila now put too much emphasis on moving Thomas and Beard respectively, which gives Rowlands the time to wrap the ball in his forearms, now giving Fiji no legal means of using their own ball. Matavesi and Nasila are now offside, with only Frank Lamadi left to contest the breakdown, allowing Wales to shoot a penalty goal. Now compare the Fijian inconsistency that we're going to see for much of the video to the battle-hardened Welsh side, who simply do not feel any more pressure after everything they have been in the last 4 years. Wayne Pivac sacked, internal bullying at the WRU, a near player strike during the Six Nations earlier this season. They are well and truly battle-hardened. After this lineout, we'll freeze the frame on Dan Biggar catching the ball, then see Wales attempting a very similar attack pattern to Fiji's first. The difference is though, Warren Gatland has thought about this far more than Simon Raiwalui. While Fiji's structure, much like the All Blacks structure, has this looping pattern at the forefront, Wales have adapted this pattern to shock defences who think they know how to defend against the one-dimensional rubbish that we can typically see from the All Blacks in 2023. Wales do indeed pick a big 13 in George North, but in the middle of this pod is a proper distribution option, Nick Tompkins, while with Jack Morgan on his inside shoulder, Tompkins has 2 proper clean-out options. Interestingly, behind Morgan, we can see Louis Rees-Zammit, who has the other 2 outside backs on his outside. While the black arrows sum up Fiji's defensive approach, we'll now highlight Tompkins and North to show that because the midfield partnership are the middle and the outside man in this pod, there are genuine passes in 2 of the 3 roles this pod can execute. Tompkins, as we can now see on 6:04, has the right to send North through the hole between Tuisui and Rundradra, but North himself can also send a long pass out to Williams or to Adams. The indecision created by Wales having the 2 options, as well as a possible kick over the top should the ball go to Williams, forces Fiji to let North through, as Wales now get themselves to the Fijian 22-metre line. We'll now skip ahead to 6:27 so that we can see why Rees-Zammit was stationed in behind the pod rather than another player. The reason for this is so Liam Williams, a key decision maker for the Welsh team, can fix Rundradra and force Ravu Taumada to get stuck in a 2-on-1 against the two deadliest finishers in the Welsh lineup. We'll cut back to 6:08 to see that while most people are stuck on North breaking line and getting ready to pass to Davis, the three outside backs are getting ready to station themselves on the left wing so that they can all be in position for this 2-on-1 19 seconds later. Adams now shows some great skill to step Ravu Taumata as the Welsh Dragon now roars again, breathing fire for the first time since 2019, succeeding in expansive rugby as a final insult to Wayne Pivac, who didn't really manage to get that firing as the Welsh head coach. Although Fiji were asleep for much of the first 13 minutes, the fact that their players have such natural, amazing talent just means that you cannot afford to switch off at any stage in a game against these guys. This very basic error on 12:51 where Wainwright and North both come in to tackle Nias Alevu results in him getting free from the tackle, because there isn't much communication on who exactly is bringing him down onto the ground. With nobody in the backfield to take him down, he's got the opening try for Fiji all of a sudden. A very similar incident happens in the 17th minute, where the Welsh defence is just simply a bit confused. I wouldn't say it's bad. We can clearly see some defensive lines through these black arrows on 16:23, but as we now create this wee animation, we can see that Wales do need to spread out a bit more to defend against Fiji properly. By attacking from deep, Fiji give themselves more time to find holes in the Welsh defence using their opportunistic vision. As North commits to Droa Sesi from the side on position, he creates this hole between himself and Tompkins. This is because North doesn't have the footing to turn around and take Nias Alevu down, while Tompkins, who is lighter than Nias Alevu, only has a single shoulder to lean into the tackle with. Tompkins, however, has a very similar stance to the footing of North, which opens up another hole between himself and Bigger, as we can see through the spotlight shift. Nias Alevu offloads to Randraja, who we can now see on 16:31 with two inside options including Tangi Valu. Because Adams is still travelling backwards, he's required to mark both attackers. Randraja offloads, Fiji get a well-deserved try. The try to Josh Adams wasn't a one-off though. The Welsh mental toughness allows them back on the scoreboard. A problem that many teams have is reading decoy runners during an attack close to the try line. Fiji, however, understand how to read these decoy runners, making for a really good contest. Now that we've used this animation from the French as an example, we'll now cut back to 28:21 as Wales set up a strike play after a line out. Elias clearly isn't a realistic option to take on a pass as Rowlands is over here, not on the red cross, but what we have on Elias's outside is very interesting. While Tompkins is in position to run it straight at Randraja for a decoy line, as the ball goes from Davis to Bigger to Rees-Zammit, as North runs a decoy line towards Nias Alevu, Fiji have read it. Bigger begins rotating and Randraja is clearly expecting Tompkins to pass to Bigger. As the white arrow shows us, Randraja is thinking that Tompkins will pass to Bigger so that a Fijian player is removed from the defence by his line. Nias Alevu is in sync with Randraja, as we can see as well. We'll zoom in further and use the blue axis to show Nias Alevu continuing to eye up Rees-Zammit. Under any normal circumstances, this is game over. A turnover is forced, but as we zoom out, we see that a hole opens up between the Fijian midfielders. North, a former winger, is able to run through it to score his 48th test try in his 4th World Cup. Anyway, before we get into the halftime stats, everybody, there's just one thing I do want to quickly debunk. As we can see from the French clash against Fiji from a few weeks before the World Cup, the French defenders would bind together while close to the line as a trick to close holes for the massive Fijian forwards. Wales on 33:51 do the same thing, adopting the French system as Rowlands binds to Elias to defend against a pick and go. Now as Maui's thigh is tackled by Elias, he suddenly jumps upwards to try and grounds the ball. This jump creates a separation between Elias and Rowlands' left hand. As we can now see in the close-up shot, there's a clear attempt by Rowlands to wrap his left arm, but it doesn't have the room to go across Maui's midriff due to the loss of the binding. There's no shoulder charge, while his right hand clearly makes contact with Maui's gluteus. And with a halftime score of 18-14 for Wales, this truly had been a thrilling contest. As I said earlier in the video, this is well and truly one of the best pool stage games of all time. Despite Fiji having 68% territory, 59% possession, Wales were still ahead by 4 points. Absolutely incredible stuff. The running stats pretty much all in Fiji's favour, but actually, Wales had broken the line more, and we can really see they're offloading more as well with 8-5, 4 turnovers in comparison. Sorry, 5 turnovers there to the Fijian 4 as well. That was really keeping the Welsh in the game. Definitely seeing a bit more of a kicking game from the Welsh as well, and the stats as well definitely going in the Welsh defensive favour too. 86% tackle despite making far more than Fiji, who are at 76%. The goal kicking ratio, we won't read into that one too much, neither with the ruck success, because let's be realistic, when possession is so lopsided, can you really read into that too much at all? I don't think so, guys. With the set piece though, absolutely massive difference over there. The lineout was huge for Wales in that first half, and the Fijian lineout was pretty accurate as well, though the Mauls were two very opposite sides of the same coin. And heading into the second half, you can see why the referee was a little bit harsher on the Fijians. Fiji had conceded more penalties at halftime, so I think that something like that is always going to make a ref a bit less patient with a team, for example. Considering the lack of possession, giving away that many penalties is not ideal. The build-up to Rhys Zammit's try for Wales won't require much analysis. It's simply created by a bit of a defensive problem in Fiji, but as we can see, once Wales gets to the 22, they get into a very interesting shape. Bigger, as we see in the close-up shot, fakes and attempts to catch the ball. It instead goes to Morgan, and the shape of Wales on this freeze frame shows a pretty basic attack. Tompkins is clearly in a position to bind to Morgan for a crash ball run, while Thomas is in a similar position available to binds to Francis. It's a perplexing pod formation with seemingly a 5-1-2, with Tompkins acting as an extra forward since Wainwright is stuck over here. Morgan, however, has seen Rhys Zammit out on the wing and has the absolute nerve to cross kick. This is a pretty ballsy call from Wales using a flanker to kick, but it's even worse to see what Hanbosi does. Watching the game, I felt too many Fijian players were trying to be the hero. If Hanbosi stays patient and allows for the ball to land here, Rhys Zammit will need to slow down and allow for it to come to his hands. This then provides Hanbosi with a chance to take Rhys Zammit into touch, or, as this animation shows, potentially even win a turnover. Hanbosi, however, shows his lack of test experience as Rhys Zammit scores. We see a similar issue with Fiji in the 63rd minute. Rhys Zammit has made a howler of a defensive error, and he's bitten into Mark Niasalevu, leaving Radradra totally unmarked. Droa Sisi, however, despite being a key decision maker for the team, doesn't make the pass and takes the ball into contact, leading to a knock-on. Wales look to punish Fiji and put them away in the 64th minute as their maul goes to work. We'll now spotlight onto Fiji as Maya Vanavua as well as Tangi Valu twist towards the side. The Fijian defence now ends up behind the Welsh maul as Matavesi is the only player in a reasonable position. Wales are now under advantage for the Fijian side entry. Botia, despite this, now chooses not to bind to his teammates. As we can see from the World Rugby framework, you're supposed to bind to the hindmost player in your team when joining the maul. The Welsh maul ends up collapsing. Because Fiji gave away a penalty while Wales were already under advantage, this is why Tangi Valu, one of the blokes entering from the side, was yellow carded pretty much instantly. While Wales do score a driving maul try, once more, no scoreline is safe against Fiji, guys. With Corey Domachowski yellow carded due to Wales giving away too many penalties, it's game on. Kurul Voli makes this amazing pass to Radradra, who carries well. We'll now see this hole open here. If Radradra passes right now, Ravutal Mada is in for the try. Rhys Zammit hasn't closed this gap. We'll unpause though to see that Radradra waits just a single second longer. By taking that single second longer, Rhys Zammit manages to adjust, closing this gap, making Ravutal Mada an unrealistic option right now. Luckily, Joshua Tuisalva bails Fiji out. These two defenders will never stop him from this close out. Fiji in the 76th minute though look to have found some rhythm. Ravai succeeds in making this loop pass out the back to Tuisova, who has two forwards, Botia and Mata on his outside. If Tuisova passes right here, it's game over. Botia, a former centre who now plays flanker, should be able to put Mata away in the corner since they're in a 2-on-1 against Dyer. Tuisova though takes the ball into contact against Williams before offloading to Botia. This allows for Dyer to rush in on Botia, applying the pressure while Costello and Rafael take Mata down to stop his chances of scoring in the corner. Fiji now resorts to making tight carries up front again, but the try to Pene Ravai is disallowed. As we can see in 2018 when Chesley Declan Colby scored against the All Blacks at Loftus Versfeld Stadium. Once you land on the ground, you're then allowed to reach out and put the ball down on the try line. However, if we rewind to see Ioane attempting to hold Colby up, had this been his initial landing position, it would not have been a try. Because Colby waits for Ioane to land before reaching forward, it's legal, not a double movement. Now as we cut back to Ravi, his right knee touches the ground while Dylan Lewis begins the tackle. Ravi lands here, then reaches out as Colby did, but because he drives forward after his knee hits the ground, then reaches out, the try is disallowed. When Masaki Dongi scores the try in the 78th minute and the conversion is missed, all of the wasted opportunities from Fiji force them to need a converted try to win this game. Joshua Tuisova, however, messes up big time. We can see him here on 81-39. He's sucked in Tompkins. Well, there's a huge hole here that Naya Salevu can run through to score the winning try, however. But Tuisova instead eyes up this pass here all the way out to Randradra. If Randradra catches this, Fiji will be able to win if the conversion goes over. Randradra, however, is human. It's an incredibly hard pass to take. He drops it, and that's the game. And because of the massive, massive pressure that Wales applied defensively throughout the game, Fiji just did not have the mental toughness to make the comeback, and the underdogs, Wales, won the game despite pretty much everyone being behind Fiji. 61% possession and 65% territory were Fiji's match-ending stats. Any team who can win despite such stats going against them is doing a massively good job as a defensive side. All the attacking stats, all of them in Fiji's favour. But one thing that's really going good for Wales was the 11 turnovers they won in comparison to Fiji's 4. They were absolutely massive at the breakdown, as we saw for this analysis video. And the stats, 67% tackle stats for Fiji is pretty much unacceptable at this level. Wales were far better on this, and the goal kicking was a real worry for Fiji as well. We'll get onto that soon, because the ruck clearance stats, we seriously don't really have to read into that too much. Look at the differences between them. It's just not worth it. The line out, pretty good from both teams, but the Fijian scrum really started to go haywire in that second half as well, and man, it was pretty tough. It's probably why I've got such a sore throat from all the yelling during the game. It was crazy. Why did Fiji not take all of those penalty goals? Wales conceded 13 penalties inside their own half. Fiji conceded 6. So Wales attempted 3 of the 6 penalty goals that were on offer for them. Fiji didn't attempt any. As I said, guys, before the World Cup, Fiji just don't have the killer instinct to win test matches at this level quite yet. They're a young team. Look at the comparison between the current lot to the 2019 Fiji team. That lot had had the 4-year cycle together. This lot is still very young. Only 9 of them, I think it was, have over 20 test caps. And that's a massive difference compared to the 2019 Fijian side. Cohesion, killer instincts get developed over time, and after the last 4 years, Wales are a dragon that finally awoke like Smaug in The Hobbit. Thank you so much for watching this analysis video, guys. As you can probably tell, I've got a bit of a cold, so probably going to finish the video off over here. Really appreciate you guys for viewing it. Just remember as well to like and subscribe. One more big thank you to my patrons. You can also support me over on Instagram, over on Threads, and I'll catch you in the next video, okay? Cheers, guys. Thank you from Max.